It was thought a few months ago that the 2027 elections was virtually over. This was largely because several PDP governors in the South, South, and Southeast had made their way from the PDP to the APC. And those from the South especially claimed that they were going to the APC because they wanted the presidency to remain in the South, and that their preference for the presidency was President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And those in the PDP, especially some people who actually did not work for the PDP in the last general elections, explained their support for Tinubu in the context of the power struggle between the regions of Nigeria. They said it was a turn of the South, and there was no reason why Vice President Atiku Abubakar would have even contested the election on the platform of the PDP. And so it was thought that since most PDP officials in some states, virtually all officials and political appointees and elected persons in Delta State had moved from the PDP to the APC, it was thought that the next election will merely be a walkover for the APC, the All Progressive Congress. This, of course, was until last week, when the former Minister of Information, Professor Jerry Gana from Niger State, a senior political figure in Nigeria, said that President Goodluck Jonathan, the man who was defeated in 2015 and who voluntarily handed over power without going to court, had decided to throw in his hat into the ring and will be contesting the elections on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. This, of course, has become a talking point in the politics of Nigeria. The first person to fire a salvo was the press secretary or the senior special assistant or advisor to the president on media and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, who made several claims about the non-performance of Jonathan while he was president. He also said that the economy had improved and things had taken a new turn under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Of course, the claims did not go unchallenged. Several Nigerians have come out to speak for President Goodluck Jonathan. As to the claim whether President Jonathan is qualified to contest or not, it is expected, or many people are suspecting, that because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his people are very comfortable with the law courts, they might likely go to court and try to get the courts to stop President Goodluck Jonathan from contesting the election. Another obstacle that they may have on their way is to make the PDP unavailable for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which is why you have people within the PDP who say and are fighting for leadership position in the PDP and are strangely saying that they are supporting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They even pledged their support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu even before he declared his intention, before a candidate could emerge as a presidential candidate in the PDP. As a matter of fact, one of the persons who is touting and parading himself as a possible national chairman of the People's Democratic Party is the former governor of Benue State, Governor Samuel Otom, who more than a year ago pledged support openly at a public forum for the presidential ambition of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, what actually will happen? Will PDP vote into office as national chairman a member who has already pledged his support against the potential candidate of the PDP, whoever the candidate may be? Well, that is yet to be seen, as the PDP plans to go into the national convention, which will elect new officials to run the affairs of the party. Now, let's look at some of the claims that were made or have been made by Bayo Onanuga. Bayo Onanuga is not new to controversy in Nigeria. You will recall that a few months ago, rather than commiserate with the people of Plateau State, who had lost so many people in violent attacks by people who have now been investigated and not to be from the state, he had issued a statement to the effect that the governor of Plateau State and the people of Plateau State should learn to live in peace with one another. And so the people were very angry with him about the statements that he made. It is not surprising that he appears to be very insultive to Professor Jerry Gana, former minister, a very senior Christian leader who is well respected in Plateau State. According to Bayo Onanuga, in the statement that he issued, he said, and I quote, "Shorn of all those selfish considerations for which some PDP big guns find his candidacy appealing, President Jonathan will also have his encounter with the people as to whether he has anything new to offer after his disastrous 6 years for which they voted him out in 2015. He said, and I quote again, "Let us remind ourselves about Jonathan's record. We cannot forget in a hurry how his regime, devoid of any clear economic agenda, engaged in frivolous spending, ran the economy aground, and put the country in dire straits. The nation's economic downturn, which the President Tinubu is working hard to overcome, actually began under President Jonathan. The Jonathan administration severely damaged the economy, and all key indicators declined under his watch. Under him, the so-called business moguls allocated foreign exchange to import fuel, simply pocketing the dollars without importing anything. Some of those big men still have court cases on the issue today. Let's take a look at the economic indices during President Goodluck Jonathan's time and the present situation. As a matter of fact, from the time the APC got to power in 2015, what are the economic indicators and what did they say about the achievements of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu versus the achievements of President Goodluck Jonathan, who actually spent 5 years as president of Nigeria and not 6 years as the spokesperson President Bola Ahmed Tinubu seems to be saying. If we look at the socio-economic indicators of Nigeria between 2010, when President Goodluck Jonathan became president, and 2015, when he left, we'll see that in 2010, Nigeria ranked number 100 in the Fragile States Index. The value of Nigeria in the Human Development Index was 0.488, and the total public debt of Nigeria was $35.4 billion, and the GDP per capita was 4,475, and the exchange rate of the naira was between 148 naira to 155 naira. By 2015, when President Goodluck Jonathan was leaving, the Fragile State Index, Nigeria had slipped a little bit to 102.5. The HDI had improved a little bit to 520. The total public debt had indeed increased to 65.3, and the capital per income had increased to $5,189, and the naira to dollar rate was 199 by the time Jonathan left. Let's look at what it was under President Buhari. Let's go to the year 2016. In terms of the Fragile State Index, Nigeria had slipped to number 103.5. In terms of the HDI, Nigeria was still 526. The public debt, of course, that Jonathan left had increased from 65.3 to 68.6, and the GDP per capita had dropped to 5,022, while the exchange rate under President Muhammadu Buhari has slipped from the 180, 190 under Jonathan to 390 under Buhari. By the time President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over, the Nigeria Fragility Index, Nigeria was still a little bit good. That was 98. Serious improvement from the time of the Boko Haram was devastating the country. That was at 2023. HDI had remained at 0.55. The total public debt had moved from the time Jonathan left it, that is, moved from 63.3 to 150 billion. Of course, the value of the naira when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu met it was 460. That was the time that Buhari left it. By 2024, last year, the value of the naira, which had gone up to 1,800, had dropped back to 1,480. And as at a few weeks ago, the dollar is still going for 1,550. So in simple terms, under President Goodluck Jonathan, by the time he left office, if you are looking for $10,000 under President Goodluck Jonathan, all you needed was 1.8 million naira. Under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if you are looking for $10,000, you need 15,500,000 naira to get $10,000. Whose economy is better? It's for you to decide for yourself. Let's take a look at the security indicators the way we've had it. Of course, we just look at the last figures of people that were killed. If you look at the table, the one in black, the security situation between 2010 to 2015, and the one in green, security indicators 2016 to 2020. In 2010, the total number of civilians killed, estimatedly killed, despite the bomb blast and the rest of them, was 750. In 2016, under President Muhammadu Buhari, you had 2,500 killed, both military and civilians. If you go to 2011, the number under Jonathan increased to 1,000. And of course, the number kept increasing under the previous governments. If you switch over to the current situation, since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to power, you also see that the crisis that kept afflicting Nigeria under President Muhammadu Buhari have continued. The mass kidnappings and abductions have continued nationwide. And we've had in 2021, it was believed that over 10,000 people were killed nationwide. And the number of civilians displaced is very high. And we've had a new situation in the Northwest today under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, where we have a very serious situation of bandits reaching peace agreements with communities, bandits going about with arms publicly, bandits using areas and local governments that they have reached peace agreements with communities that appear to have gotten tired of waiting for government to launch attacks on communities that have yet to reach agreements with them. The questions that people will ask themselves will not be the press statements that will be issued by either Professor Jerry Gana or by Bayo Onanuga. There will be issues that people will ask themselves whether their lives today are better in terms of security or are worse. It will not be whether any person will tell people anything. And now let's even look at some of the issues, the achievements that cleverly Bayo Onanuga did not put up in his press statements. One of the achievements that supporters of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have been talking about is the question of withdrawal of subsidy on petrol. According to them, he took a very bold decision to withdraw subsidy from petroleum products. And this is an economic realignment, a reform that other leaders, according to his supporters, shied away from taking. Of course, all of those who know, and you can see pictures on your screen, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was one of those who led demonstrations on the streets of Nigeria, fighting against President Goodluck Jonathan for withdrawing petroleum subsidy. We had pastors, we had people marching the streets, holding the government to ransom, that they wanted the fuel subsidy to be restored.
Those who could improve this situation for the good of all of us do not allow the opportunity to make things better for us. They make it better for themselves, for their comfort and their families. Cronyism is prevailing. Today, our rulers in Abuja and across some of their states, you know what they say to us When they remove subsidy and we say no, hunger is increasing, they say so what? Unemployment is a cause, they say yes, we know. Why are the people hungry? Is that let them face death. That is what is in Abuja of today. The current way of governance make nation building impossible. What it does, it makes poverty and the erosion of just society inevitable. We have gathered at this hour in this place to put an end to the national corruption and corruption. We have assembled here today to bring a new day and in Nigeria to our people. Today, the Nigerian people are decent and hardworking people. They are equally long suffering. They tolerate for too long.
Today, going back to do what Jonathan did that he fought against is an achievement for them. Even if you look at other issues, of course, there are many other issues that people will bring up as they debate as to whether the Jonathan is a better candidate or Tinubu is a better candidate that will be brought up by Nigerians. But let me have your take about what is happening. Can we really say that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is performing better than President Goodluck Jonathan? If President Goodluck Jonathan actually makes good the claim by Professor Jerry Gana to contest election, who will you vote for? Will you vote for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu or you vote for President Goodluck Jonathan? Who will you say really should have your vote based on what they have done?